stuff in the background. Let's see. Actually, do I need to... Is this going? Yep. Okay.
All right.
Okay, that's looking good. All right. Cool. So we're live. Okay, close. I don't have moderators for my chat, but that's what we got going on. We got one viewer. Zero viewers. And then I'm gonna also record so that I can go back and clip it and do all that kind of stuff too. I'm gonna go ahead and it also helps, like, if something happened between here and the stream,
right?
It will I'll be able to fix it or whatever and re-upload it. So, all right. Should be ready to go, man.
Sweet.
I got 1 minute, so whenever you feel ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
We can kick it off.
Yep.
All right. What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Welcome to the TinkerTribe podcast. I'm your host, Greg Dowd, and today I am joined with my buddy here, Chris Wells.
Hey.
Of what is it?
Wells Lightning Wood.
Wells Lightning
Yep.
Wood, and so he's got a really nice background set up of all of his like some of his recent projects and some of the stuff he's worked on. So we sat here and got that set up before we went live. But
hopefully nothing falls down. Some of it's like taped up. We already had an incident where some of the stuff came crashing down. So stay tuned. It might get exciting. You never know.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks.
for joining me today. I'd like to start off by asking, so what got you into doing this business of making this fractal art in the wood like we see behind me here, behind us here?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in woodworking. It's been a hobby of mine for several years, and I finally, I guess, got to a place in my life where I was just able to do it full time. The biggest thing is the monkey's wrench and just having a space to work in, because I don't have a garage at my house. I don't really have the space for woodworking, because what a lot of people don't realize is you have to have at least there's 8 or 9 things you have to have if you're going to be a serious woodworker. Like, you can't have just a miter saw and like a circular saw and then you're a woodworker. Like, you really need like a table saw and a joiner and a drum sander and like several other things in order to have that critical mass to be able to do woodworking. And so now that I have this space here at the Monkey's Wrench, I'm finally able to jump out and do my own thing. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So why did you choose to do this fractal type of artwork that you do in the wood?
Yeah, there's that piece back there if you want to grab that. But yeah, so I decided to do that because mainly it's just super unique. I don't know of anyone else in this area that's doing it. So I guess just a bit of advice, if you ever want to start your own business, try and do something that you don't see anyone else doing.
It's really cool. He used some kind of epoxy in here.
Yep.
So it's got like this like epoxy, and it's like multiple colors, if you guys can see that. And it's like kind of like a red and a yellow type of color in there. And so you make a bunch of different stuff, and you do custom work. And
right.
So this is one of your custom pieces that you have in the background here, right?
Yeah, this is a piece for a client of mine. It's in 2 pieces. There's this piece up here and then a piece on the bottom. And it's going to be a river table. And also, I don't know if y'all can see on the podcast or not, but it'll light up as well. Yeah, if you move that way. Yeah, so you see over there, it's lighting up underneath. So I've got fiber optic cables to, like I said, just make it a unique piece. And yeah.
What gave you the idea of doing the fiber optic in the piece?
I saw a couple of videos where people will have, pieces light up, but like I said, not too many people do the fractal burning, and I just sort of racked my brain for ways to make the fractal burning on the top of the wood to light up, and honestly, it was just kind of an experiment, and hopefully, it's going good so far. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So were you always into woodworking, or is this kind of a skill that you developed later, like as an adult? Like, did you do woodworking stuff when you were younger?
Yeah.
How did you get into it?
Yeah, well, one thing is, so I have ADHD, so it's like, 1 week I'll be woodworking, and then I'm like, maybe I should restore old clocks, and then like maybe I should become a machinist. So when I was younger, I was kind of bouncing around all over the place, but I've kind of like settled into woodworking, and like, I mean, I have other interests, of course, but I'm kind of like coercing myself to like, okay, Chris, like focus on this,
Okay.
And in order to not be a jack of all trades, master of none, I'm trying to be a master of woodworking. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I like that phrase because I think the original phrase was a jack of all trades but master of one.
Really?
I believe
okay.
that is the.
I'll have to look that up. I always assumed it was master of none. So.
Yeah. I think
to
I
look
ran
that up.
across that on something I was listening to. Somebody fact check us on that one, but yeah, it's I do think it is good to have a variety of skills. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I think like in our kind of the modern education system, it kind of pins you down into like being a specialist in one type of thing.
Right.
And a lot of these people think they know things, but they really don't know very much about the world, about like common sense a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
And I think having the ability to do a lot of different things and be just curious about the world and be curious about different specialties and stuff. Number one, it's going to open up your ability to take on new skills that you might not have approached.
Right.
I think it can help you build confidence in life. If you run across a problem, you're not going to just give up on it.
Right.
You're going to try to figure out a way through it. And an example of that, guys, is me and Chris were out here the other night, and we were working on putting up a shade cloth over the aquaponics system out here. And I have a picture of that I'll show you guys a little later. Yeah. But, we got to a point where it was like, okay, maybe we need a ratchet strap system for this or something that. And, just kind of our background knowledge or whatever, we were able to kind of solve the problem.
Right, yeah.
Somehow without, having to like go buy extra stuff and need to go, make a Home Depot run or whatever.
Right, yeah. And then we were having problems with water pooling in it, and so just got a piece of bamboo and then put that up instead of having to spend money on a pole. So
Yeah. And
but yeah, to add to what you were saying, like, I mean, it's definitely good to like have a main focus, but then also like have just basic skills, like being able to install your own ceiling fan, or like if something's wrong, like a small plumbing fix on your sink, like knowing how to fix that. Like there are people who can't even change like a plate on an electrical outlet, just a flathead screwdriver.
Right.
So just having basic skills in more than just one tiny area is definitely really important, because I saw that a lot. I was actually a residential handyman for a while, and you would have some people like call us to change a light bulb. I mean, it was unreal. Like some people, it's like they're just allergic to physical work or labor or whatever, and it's like, okay, you need to like at least be able to change a light bulb, like so, yeah.
I found that myself. Yeah, for a little while there, I had left a job and went off on my own to try to make it off grid for a little while.
Yeah.
And I was trying to pick up jobs doing handyman stuff through that little TaskRabbit app or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think like I didn't try to use it very much because like it wasn't around this area. I'd have to like drive up to like close to Nashville.
Oh gosh, wow.
For a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
that they had on there. But I remember it was like a property manager. It's a lot of the property managers that run different properties,
Yep.
and they want you to do little stuff like replace a valve on a. This one was replacing the valve on a toilet,
Right,
and like
yep.
replacing the battery in the smoke detector and stuff like that. So it's like
Yeah.
little simple, silly
Right.
stuff that like you know, a lot of people need. But there is a lot of opportunity in
Oh
that,
yeah,
I think,
definitely.
for people that want to you know, maybe if you have some skills that just like you said, like people don't want to do stuff on their
Right,
own anymore.
yeah.
It seems so. Like if you can fill, you know, that need that there is in the market, and you can provide some kind of service for people, you know, by, you know, getting your hands dirty and doing something,
Right.
then I think that those kind of people are always going to be
In demand.
in demand.
Oh yeah, definitely.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, how did you get connected with the makerspace in the beginning? How did you make the connection to be able to set this up and kind of work with the founder?
Yeah, so actually, so Chris Walls and I, so my name's Chris Wells, and the director's Chris Walls, so, you know, not confusing at all.
Not confusing
Yeah,
at
not
all.
the least bit. But I met Mr. Walls at a co-working night. It was run by Urban Engine at the time, so I just happened to run into him at it, and he mentioned, he was actually talking to someone else, I think, across the room, and I just overheard like Makerspace. I was like, "What Makerspace?" And I like start running over there. I'm like, "You're starting a Maker, let me join." You know, so like, I couldn't wait to get started with this, and it was really great too because I was able to get in on the ground floor. I mean, the building we're in right now was completely empty when we started, so I was just able to get the woodworking shop set up in a way that I liked, and yeah, it's been really really awesome.
Now there are a lot of tools in here,
Yeah.
and like
I don't know if you
I
dare.
know not all of these are your tools, but
Nah.
you know, it is an impressive collection of stuff. I mean,
Right.
there's table saws in here. There's sanders. There's miter saws.
Yep.
There's like a mini CNC in here, a
Yeah.
router table. There's all kinds of stuff. Like it's a super full woodworking
Yeah.
shop. Like
Yep.
so these are some tools, I guess, that you've kind of accumulated over
Right.
time.
So about half of what's in here is my stuff, and then we have another member, Dan. Basically, everything else is his for the most part, and then we've got an older gentleman who specializes in CNC machines. He actually like would build custom CNC machines for people. He's a super knowledgeable guy, and the three CNC machines you see in here, he brought in.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that's one cool thing that I think that you know, the maker spaces are really cool for is that, you know, it can, like if you've got a small business or something you're working on. I know not just you, but there's another guy here that I believe he's working on a some type of restoration business or something with metalworking and something like that. That it can, you know, be a place that can support people that have like some kind of small business doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely be a really good launch pad.
Yeah.
If you know, you don't have $10,000 a month, you can, you know, spare renting a space, and,
Right,
and like, you
that's
know,
the thing.
$30,000 of capital and tools. You know, if you don't have all of that, you can just join the Monkey's Wrench, and then you know, you have to share your tools with other people. You have to play nice. That's the only, you know, small drawback. But, you know, if you're just starting out, it's awesome for that. And what's also really great about the Monkey's Wrench is that we're a 50C37 organization.
501c.
C3. I always get that.
7.
There's 50. So instead of 3, it's a 7. I always get those numbers mixed up.
507.
Yeah, 507, whatever. But anyways, the important part is we're a 7. That's the important part, 7. So we're actually organized the same way a country club is. So we're actually a social club. We're not a charity. And so other maker spaces, like, they are set up as a charity. And the only problem with that, or one of the only problems, is if you make something to make money, then that's actually frowned upon. So you join this makerspace, you start making stuff, and you want to sell it, but you're not supposed to do that if you're in a charitable organization.
Okay.
But because we're set up with the 507 organization, like I'm actually able to use the Monkey's Wrench like address as my business address and able to send mail here and everything. So that's
wow.
that's a really big advantage here at the Monkey's Wrench. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. So, had you been in other maker spaces before this, or was that meeting that was the first time that you were kind of interested in getting involved with one or something like that?
So I actually there's another makerspace, Makers Local 256, and they're a great organization. Nothing against them, but like I was talking about earlier, they are set up as a charity.
Okay.
So there's sort of that issue with if you make stuff to make money, you're not technically supposed to do that. Like you can't run your business out of Makers Local 256.
I gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So they're more of like just for the pure like being able to create things, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But at least for my purposes and what I was wanting to do is actually start a business, and so that's where the Monkey's Wrench has come in.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you weren't. So what were you doing before you got this kicked off? You were working at the Toyota plant for a little while?
Yeah, so before this, well, the real question is what have I not done?
Yeah, what all have you done?
Oh, gosh. So my first job was Ridgeview Industries. That was an automotive factory, so I worked there for 3 years. And then I worked for Boeing for 3 years, and that was pretty neat. The only problem was management was like super toxic. It was just really bad environment to work in. So then I ended up at Shepherd Signs, which is like, so we did like vinyl signs where a lot of what we did was, when there's a new neighborhood and there's a big 8x4 vinyl signs that says, houses in the 220s,
for like new
D8
subdivisions
Thornton or
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
So we would make those, and then I worked for Kawasaki Robotics somehow. I don't know how I got that job, but
Oh wow.
yeah, I managed to land that somehow. Problem with Kawasaki Robotics was that I was terrible at it, so I ended up getting fired from there. And then I worked in the Carpenters Union, which wasn't too bad, but the only problem was the work schedule was all over the place. So like I'd be on a construction site for 30 days, and then I'd go to a different construction site for 2 months, or just move around a lot.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'd be on 12-hour shifts, and and then I worked in a cabinet shop, and that was pretty good. The only problem was the owner, so it was really small. It was just the owner, his brother, and one coworker. And like without going into too much detail, like the three of them were like really tight knit, and like they just didn't like me for no real reason. So I ended up getting fired from that job. And then, gosh, what did I do after that? Oh, I worked for Redline Steel. And basically what I did there was I just made cheesy stuff for Karen. So we would
what?
For Karen, Karen,
Like the
stereotypical
Karens?
Yeah. So we would cut out like live, laugh, love out of sheets of metal,
yeah.
and then powder coat it, and then she'd put like faith or hope or whatever on her wall.
Yeah.
So I did that. Then I worked for HDT, where they did like power generators for the military and like big tents.
Yeah.
So basically, like if the military wanted to set up a place in the middle of nowhere, they would use our power generators and the big tents that HDT built.
Oh, okay.
Like if they wanted to have like a field hospital, like that's the equipment that they would use.
So these are like diesel generators?
Yeah, diesel generators and enormous tents. Like 100 feet by like 80. Just massive tents.
Oh, like if they want to set up like a emergency whatever,
yeah,
or something like
like an
comms
emergency
point or something like
right,
that. Or
yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And then after that, finally, I worked for Mazda Toyota, And I will say this about Mazda Toyota. They, of all the places I've worked, they were probably one of the best ones in terms of like how they treat people and all that sort of thing. The only big problem there was the rotational shift. So I would work 4 weeks days and then 4 weeks nights. And my body just couldn't, like, there's no way I could adjust to that.
Yeah.
So then, after all of that, finally, I was like, maybe I should work for myself,
Yeah.
So that's what got me to where I am now.
Wow, man. Wow.
Yeah.
So out of all those different jobs, I'm sure you picked up like different skills along that way too.
Oh yeah.
You also kind of, well, from us talking, you also when you were growing up, you were in the Scouts as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, I am an Eagle Scout. So
Yeah.
Part of the 2%, I believe.
Yeah, man. We were joking the other night that like I made it through the Scouts myself, and it sucks what's happened to the Boy Scouts in my opinion, and that I think those are really great skills for people to know, like because we were just joking the other night is that we were able to put together these knots that just
we
were in the back of our
we were
mind
able to use our top line Boy Scout knots to avoid using ratchet straps. So,
when you're growing up, you're like, you get called you
get called a loser for being Boy Scouts, and like, oh, you're using these stupid knots, you're never going to use that. But then, like, it became a lifesaver, like, knowing these special knots really helped us out with setting up that tarp. So,
yeah. So, I mean, there's this viral song that's going around right now, by, I think his name is Oliver Anthony.
Okay.
It's called Richmond in Richmond. But one of the parts of the song is that you're working all day for bullshit pay or whatever.
Right.
And it's like while these guys up in DC are just causing problems for everybody
and getting paid extra for it. It's like, hey, you created extra problems, we'll give you a big bonus. That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Right, but we're kind of at this moment in time right now where, like, the things that people are looking to do is like what people, the younger generation is like, they want to be a TikTok star or an influencer.
Right,
like people are looking to do that kind of stuff, but like, a lot of why I started this podcast was to try to connect with other people that are like yourself that are like doing something independently, trying to do something creative, and like-minded people that are trying to be more like self-reliant in some way, because I think a lot of our society now, the reason we have like so much depression and things like that is there's so much purposelessness in our society.
Right. Yeah. It's all about that dopamine hit and just short-term instant gratification. And
with the social media and all that, you get all the dopamine from your likes and stuff on social media and all that, and it's like I feel like when you can focus on some kind of purpose in your life and some kind of higher goal,
right,
that it kind of, you don't have time to be depressed.
Right. Yeah.
And I was just listening to the right before I got here tonight. I was listening that Disney Plus is like tanking right now because it's like they've made so much of this woke garbage that and then they've increased the price of their subscriptions. And so people are just like, it's the thing that I can get rid of, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, how do people have all this time to just be like subscribe to all these different subscriptions of entertainment? It's like,
just consuming hours and hours of Netflix
of your life,
Hulu,
and you're not doing anything.
HBO Max and all that stuff, and you're just sitting there, just watching, just constantly taking in.
And during that time, maybe you could be learning a new skill for yourself, trying to get yourself a little bit further ahead in life. But it seems like there's so much of the people out there that are just wanting to be constantly entertained.
Right. Yeah.
And So I don't know. Do you think that it's kind of my personal belief, like I'm talking about, like finding something that you can do in your life
Hmm.
that gives you some kind of purpose, like like you're going off and doing this and being creative
Right. Yeah.
with your stuff here. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, I guess one thing is like with the whole instant gratification thing. Say like you're scrolling on TikTok and you see a really funny video and you feel great for about 5 seconds, but then it goes away.
Yeah.
But like something like this, like I look at this. I actually taped it to the wall so it won't fall down. But like I can look at this, and I don't know if y'all can see it, but it actually looks really spooky in some parts. Like it looks like kind of skulls and stuff like that. But my point is, like, especially here, like looks like a skull in that area. But like every time I look at that charcuterie board that I make, like I get joy out of it, like just like that. And then when, like in my house, I actually built, I call it the tree house. But when you go into my house, there's like a really high foyer, and it's just wasted empty space. So I put like a really cool like bunk bed up there. And so like I walk into my house, and I see this super cool like bunk bed treehouse thing that I built, and like I look around and see other things that I've made, and I get joy out of all those little things. So it's almost like you're creating these reservoirs of joy and what's the word? Not contempt. What's the word I'm thinking of? Just
Satisfaction.
Yeah, satisfaction.
Or gratitude, or
What's the word I'm thinking of? But my point is, like, if you're trying to get satisfaction from just those little things, they go away immediately. And you don't have to make a physical thing. It just having these accomplishments can bring joy to you in the future, if that makes sense.
No, I totally get that, because like setting up this aquaponics system, and it took me time to sit there. I had to repair the aquarium tank. I had to build the structure. I had to do all the plumbing and all the fitting and all that. And putting those projects together and getting them accomplished, and you can look back and see, like, I made something functional.
Right. Yeah.
That's working. And I put my time and energy into that, and just like you're saying, like you get that like more long-term satisfaction, and you learn a lot in the process.
Right.
That I'm way further ahead of where I was, like, before I started that project. So it's like you move on, and every time you accomplish one of these projects, I've talked about it in the past on the podcast. It really gives you, like, at least for me as well, it gives me that kind of, like you're saying, that satisfaction,
Right. Yeah.
that joy, that this was in my mind and now it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it continues, like every time you look at it or every time you use it, you get satisfaction out of it. So it's like making these investments of like joy that you can pull from in the future, versus if all you do is just try and suck joy out of your phone, then it's only one source and it's just like really short and immediate and doesn't last very long. Versus if you can build things around your life that will, always be able to give you, satisfaction in your life, is obviously much better long-term plan than just hoping that TikTok, feeds your dopamine.
Yeah. So, it's. I also think the creative aspect is an important thing too.
Right.
Like
because you're exercising your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of our lives, we go to work.
Right.
We work, long hours sometimes, and sometimes we get home at the end of the day, and you're just worn out, and maybe you do tune into the entertainment to like try to help you get to sleep so you can go to the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
But I find doing things like this, and finding building the aquaponics type stuff, and just trying to learn more about solar type things and doing stuff like that, I'm able to have a greater purpose, I guess, in some way. And instead of just going home and doing the entertainment, that I have a way of being creative in my life.
Right. Yeah.
That I think is really important for a lot of people is to find some kind of a creative outlet. However you do that, like whether it be like going and trying to do, write poetry or write something or, do some kind of a film or, just some kind of creative outlet that you can have, because I think it opens up a lot. It makes your life, instead of this, same repetitive thing over and over again, that it can break it up and it can give you something to focus on to get you out of a bad place if you're in one.
Yeah, and also what I'd like to tell the viewers here is be bad at something. Like, totally suck at something and be okay with that, and do it for yourself. Like, don't,
that's really important.
I'm gonna do knitting or whatever and put it on Instagram, and like only 2 people like my Instagram post. Like, just do it for yourself. I mean, put it on Instagram if you want. I mean, I have Instagram obviously to put my woodworking stuff on, but like, don't do it for the purpose of I've got to get 100 likes.
Yeah.
Like, do it like to enjoy it for what it is. And, accept the fact, like, from the very beginning, tell yourself you will be terrible.
You're not going to be good.
You're not going to be good at it. Like, you're going to fail. But that's part of the process, is being willing to fail and being willing to learn through those failures in order to, like, become good at something. Like, I've probably ruined, like, at least dozens, maybe even hundreds of these, because, like, I would like mix up the epoxy wrong and it would be like rubbery and I'd have to just throw the whole thing away, or it'd have like a bunch of bubbles in it because I didn't seal it right, or the wood, if you don't dry the wood correctly, it'll warp on you later. So, just being willing to make those mistakes and suck at something for a while.
That is such a good point, because, that's what's held me back a lot in my life, was like that fear of judgment from others a lot of times.
Yep.
If you can, get rid of that fear in your mind, and like you're saying, just create something and do it for your enjoyment.
Right. Yeah.
And, don't worry about the judgment from other people, because guess what? People don't care.
No.
At the end of the day, like, they don't care about you at all.
You're not that important, okay? That's the key takeaway. You are not that important.
Yeah, and there's always going to be people that are going to, say negative things especially online.
Yeah, haters going to hate.
There's always going to be haters out there. So, I have learned that lesson in my life, is like, anytime you want to do something that might be a little different from what other people are doing in their life, that I've heard it called the crab in the bucket syndrome or something like that. It's all the crabs that are in the bucket. And,
they see the one crab trying to get out of the bucket, and they're like, "No, get back down there."
Back down in there with them.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times, like when you hear criticisms and stuff, it's from people that aren't really doing much in their life, or aren't even trying something, and they might be saying some negative stuff towards you.
Like I definitely felt that a lot, because I decided to quit Mazda Toyota, which by all accounts is a pretty good job, and they actually have really good health insurance. And like the number one thing I heard from everyone was like, "Well, you're not gonna have health insurance anymore. Like, what are you gonna do?" And the thing is, like the thing that really,
why is it always just like the health insurance?
Yeah, that's like the only thing people think about. And like it is possible to have like halfway decent health insurance coverage.
Like there's like Christian type health
there's
insurance.
like Samaritan Health Share. There are things you can do. I mean, obviously it's not going to be super great health insurance, but the thing that really kind of pushed me over the edge with quitting Mazda Toyota was I started doing research on the effects of working a swing shift. And on average, life expectancy is reduced by 10 years. Okay, 10 years of your life gone if you work a rotational shift.
Just because you can't get in that circadian rhythm,
it just messes you up so bad. And you can, I mean, like heart attacks go way up, cancer, all this stuff. So, you know, I kind of realized, and it's like I had to actually say this out loud for it to really sink in, but I told myself, like, okay, I can have really great health insurance, but if I die when I'm 60 or 50 years old, then what's the point? Hey, I had great health insurance.
I had great health insurance.
But now I'm dead, you know? So,
but I had great health insurance.
Yeah, it is a really great job, you know? And that's not to say, like, don't be stupid and just quit your job and hope it works out.
Yeah, you kind of had something set up.
Yeah,
right?
like I had, you know, like I increased the risk in my life a little bit. But yeah, like to pick like the absolute safest choice just because everyone else around you says that's what you're supposed to do. Like it's like the crab in the bucket mentality.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it's like I'm trying to like get out of the bucket of I have to work for this big corporation and have perfect health insurance. Like that's the bucket most people are in.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm trying to get out of that bucket and people are like, hey, you won't have health insurance. Get back down in here, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just like being able to make that decision for yourself. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what's the worst that happens? You go find another job somewhere
Right,
or something
yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I could probably go back to work for MTM. Honestly, like they're really hurting. If you need a job, you could work for MTM because they have a hard time keeping people, mainly because of their rotational shift. I don't know why they do that, but
wow, I didn't know that about the rotational shift, but that
Yeah.
totally makes sense from a lot of the stuff that I've looked into. Is I was listening to a podcast recently where a guy was talking about one of the best things for your health is to get regular sleep.
oh yeah, it's huge.
So
Absolutely huge, yeah.
So there's got to be something to that. Like you know, he was talking about you want to wake up with the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to before you go to bed, you want to make sure you can disconnect from these screens.
Yep.
And read a book or something to help you fall asleep.
Yeah, actually, my routine as of now, so like by like 7:30 at the latest, phone is like downstairs, like as far away from me as possible, charging. I have an old-timey alarm clock to wake me up. I don't have to use my phone as an alarm clock.
Oh, is it like the bell one or something like
Well,
that?
it's not that old-fashioned, but it's like yeah, it's one of those, yeah. So
Like the
it's
80s
always
stuff.
funny, like when I tell people, like, you know, don't have your phone on you. Oh, but it's my alarm clock. Okay, they're like $8 at Walmart. You can afford an alarm clock and, you know, not have to have your phone. But yeah, so 7:30, phone is gone, and like I'll do just stretches. I'll stretch for like maybe 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, and then after that, I just go to bed. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's something that I need to implement in my life because
Yeah.
I do find myself sitting there looking at the screen,
Yeah.
doom scrolling through Twitter
Yeah,
or
right,
something
yeah.
like that before I go to bed.
Right.
And then, yeah, it does totally screw me up because, like, sometimes I'll stay up too late, and I know that, you know, a lot of it is because you have the blue light and stuff coming off the screens, and that tricks your mind into thinking that it's still daylight out, and so basically you're kind of getting stuck into this. You're getting trapped in the like your body's telling you it's still daylight, and you can't. It's hard to fall asleep. So
Yeah.
So yeah, but when I have I have implemented that in the past, and I have been able to get a lot better sleep. And I used to be able to like really lucid dream as well when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Because I grew up before the internet.
Right. Yeah.
So you know I remember those
So
times.
you got that REM sleep.
So I was able to get the REM sleep, but a lot of the nights I was able to like pick the scenarios or the dreams
Really?
that I wanted to be in, and I actually got really good at that because I was able to almost direct the dream.
Oh wow.
In certain points of when I was younger.
Did you have like a token like in Inception to, you know, like you would spin a top or something to see if you're dreaming, or did you ever do anything like that, or like I've heard like if you're dreaming, try and count your fingers, because you actually can't count your fingers when you're dreaming. because
No.
when you're dreaming, I did this one time. I tried to count my fingers, and it looked like this. It's like I literally, because like what happens is you count your fingers, and they just keep popping up, because everything that you see in a dream is projected from you.
Yeah.
So you look at a finger, the finger's not actually there. It's just projected by you looking at it. So when you try and count, every time you try and count a new finger, another one will pop up. So you'll have like 8 or 9 fingers. Like you can't actually count how many fingers you have.
I've never,
Yeah.
you know, talking about that, I don't know if I've ever had a dream where I have done that.
Yeah.
So it's mostly about like a lot of dreams of like levitation and flying.
Yeah.
Type dreams, and then a lot of time, if I'm really stressed out, it'll be some kind of like we have to survive something kind of dream.
Yeah, right.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So so I get those kind of stress dreams every now and then.
Right.
So what's your favorite thing about doing this process? Like how did you figure out how to set this like set up and get this going?
Yeah, so I made Vesuvius here. This is just a microwave transformer, and then you got these 2 leads. And the nice thing about this setup is when I'm burning, I can kind of pick and choose like where I burn and kind of play with it a little. But I guess my favorite part is that I never exactly know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because this pattern is going to be random every
Right,
time,
it's going to be pretty random every time, because it tries to choose the path of least resistance, and of course wood isn't very electrically conductive,
Right.
so it's forcing its way through, and I think it has to do with like the grain and like how much resin is in certain parts of the wood that kind of like it'll be a little bit more electrically conducive in one spot, and so that's how it
travels.
Yeah, but I can never, just by looking at the wood, know exactly what it's going to do. But
so kind of seeing the pattern emerge.
Right.
Really
That's
cool.
always really fun. And just knowing that every single piece I make is like the only one in the world that'll look exactly like that. Like every piece that I make is like a snowflake.
Yeah.
Basically, like that exact pattern will never be replicated. Like unless you like took a picture of it, obviously, but as far as like physically replicating that pattern, like there's no way you could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And it is almost like, you see the fractal nature of, if you observe, you can see the fractal nature of our reality.
Right. Yeah.
And what's cool about these fractal patterns is that, I would say, this fractal type of pattern, you can see it in trees,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can see it in a lot of the stuff in nature. Like if you set off a Tesla coil and you look at the lightning, the electrical patterns coming off of it, you can see it forming into these different, looking like a tree basically.
Right.
Coming out of this thing.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And what's kind of neat, a lot of people, one of the first things they say is like, is that a picture of a lake or something? It looks very much like water.
If you were looking
that you would
at
see
it
like
above.
from way up.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that when the electricity burns a path, it'll reinforce itself, because the charcoal actually conducts electricity much better than the fresh wood.
Right.
So when it creates a path, it keeps reinforcing itself the same way that water does when it flows over a landscape. So,
Wow.
So you get that natural process that shows up in the wood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's also really cool.
Were you ever like into the the different aspects of electricity and stuff like that? Like, did you ever like study any of that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah.
Like, what got you like interested in the whole? Because I kind of like I look at this and I'm thinking like maybe. You might be into some stuff about Tesla or something like that.
Right, yeah. So I actually went to Calhoun to be an electrician.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, originally I wanted to be a residential electrician. The only problem I ran into was that it was so I graduated high school 2009, and then graduated Calhoun 2012, which is probably one of the worst times to graduate college because we were still in a recession. and especially at the time, like I couldn't unless I had 2 years experience as an electrician. Like no one would even give me the time of day. But it's like, how am I supposed to get the experience 2 years if I never get hired in the first place? So I was in this, catch-22 situation, right? And then I actually ended up working at Ridgeview just because I knew someone who knew someone.
That seems to be the best way of getting hired is knowing somebody in that field or whatever.
Yeah, so actually working at Ridgeview wasn't like the original plan, but I just kind of needed a job, and so I just sort of ended up working at that automotive plant. But yeah, so to answer your question, I mean, I've always been interested just in science, just in general. I mean, even as a kid, actually, I wanted to be a biologist. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so like I said, my interests have always been just kind of all over the place. But, yeah, I wanted to be an electrician. And I always just like learning, like, that deeper level of, like, how does this actually work? Like,
yeah.
I see the electricity moving, but, like, what is it made out of? Like, how does it work? And so, I like learning about, like, so one thing that's kind of neat about electricity, did you know that electrons don't actually flow all the way through a wire?
They travel on like the surface of it or something
No,
like that?
So they actually, what happens is, those little toys where it's like you pull up a ball and it goes,
yeah.
Like you'll see it like in a doctor's office or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's basically how electricity works. So one electron hits one electron,
bumping into the next
and then
one.
they all bump into each other, and then the very last electron bumps out.
Yeah.
So, now do you have to know that to be an electrician? Well, no, not really. But, I've always just wanted to have that deeper level of understanding of things. And that's, ultimately led to me doing the fractal burning.
Well, that's interesting, yeah, because we had this joke in mechanical. I did mechanical engineering. Is my background, and we used to always call the electrical guys the imaginary guys because you can't see what you're working with the electricity. You got to put a meter on it or something. You can't see those electrons moving around in the wires or whatever. And to me, it always like the one of the, because I'm a very visual learner, so it's like the physical things that I can visualize and I can see a part and I can see like
a gear views. Turning this gear and
just kind of like from a young age I was able to kind of figure out how things were put together and kind of figure out how all that worked. By the way, hi Nancy that's watching there on YouTube. Good to see you on the live stream there.
Hey Nancy.
Thanks for hanging out. I was able to kind of see how things were put together, and the only way that the electrical stuff made sense to me was to think about it in terms of plumbing.
Right, yeah. It's like a flow of
water moving.
Yeah. Yep.
So when you think about it that way, I got into this interesting character. His name's Nassim Harameem.
Okay.
And he has like kind of this whole different. I guess he has a holographic theory of of a unified field theory for physics.
Right. Yeah.
So that like the universe is holographic. It's made out of this fractal geometry.
Right. Yeah.
And so back in the day, kind of tumbling down the whole electrical rabbit hole, there were a lot of these guys that thought that the ether, there was something that made up the fabric of reality, like of space-time.
Okay, yeah.
That our reality is made out of a kind of a fundamental geometry of some kind.
Yeah.
That the things that you think of are empty space is actually like, maybe you could call it like a superfluid or something like that.
Yeah.
And that all these particles, like when they do the slit experiment, where they see that
the wavicle.
Yeah, they call it. You can either act as a particle or it could be a wave, and I believe that's because we are in this like superfluid in our fabric of our reality, and it's like a fluid.
Yeah.
And so you might when you put fluid, if you do that slit experiment, you do that in water, and you can see how like that pattern emerges through the water.
Yeah.
And it can be similar to what you would see there. And then that could also explain how maybe consciousness can affect reality as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because like your active focus on what's happening in reality can actually create a different outcome.
Yeah, because like with the electron particles, like whether or not you measured them would affect like the result, which is pretty mind blowing. In fact, it actually, I think Einstein like absolutely hated that type of science because it was unpredictable and like he couldn't like have a handle on it. So I don't know if you ever ran into that or heard about that or not.
No.
But yeah, so who was it? Niels Bohr was really big in that field of study, and yeah, like Einstein like just hated all of that. So just because it's so like unpredictable and hard to understand. So yeah.
I tumbled down the rabbit hole with Einstein a little bit, and there's one guy on YouTube. His name is Theoria Apophasis.
Okay, yeah.
If you get a chance to look him up, but he does this really cool thing where he shows the he's got this little basically lens, and it's filled with a ferro fluid.
Okay.
So it's like iron filing suspended in oil of some
Mineral
kind.
oil usually, yeah.
And it's in glass, and so you can hold it over a magnet, and you can actually see like the toroidal field of the magnet.
Right.
And he talks about how Einstein stole a lot of his stuff from this guy Henry Poincaré.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about that. Yeah.
And that Einstein really didn't have original ideas. He was just stealing them from these other scientists and claimed a lot of the credit for it. And so that and Tesla had a really big problem with Einstein as well, because he said that basically Einstein couldn't create anything practical with his theories.
No.
And so Tesla was saying like, okay, if you really understand what you're talking about, you would be able to engineer some type of device based on your theory.
Right. Yeah.
And so he gave Einstein a lot of hell.
Oh, really? Huh.
About it, from what I understand, and so he basically thought that Einstein was just all theoretical. He didn't really have any practical knowledge.
That's interesting. I'll have to look that up.
So, but yeah, that's really cool. That's how you got into doing the whole fractal thing. Yeah, and you do all kinds of different stuff, right? You've got these charcuterie boards, and then behind us you have this. This is going to be some kind of table or a bench or something like that.
I don't know if you can see it on the podcast there, but it lights up behind it, and that I guess like just because I'm such like a science nerd, I knew that like okay, if I want to transfer light through this table, there's obviously lots of different ways to do it, but then I settled on using these little fiber optic cable pieces, so that way I can transfer the light up to the top of the table. So just the fact that I have all this random knowledge like eventually became useful, because like most woodworkers wouldn't know like, okay, what's an efficient way to transfer light to the surface of my table? Like they would just think like like an old-fashioned light bulb or something. They wouldn't be able to think about like, well, maybe I could use this or that. So
the fiber optic is set up in such a way that you could project a light in one part of the wood, and then it would show up in different parts.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but that's the little piece right there. And so the idea is it's underneath the wood. So that way, when you shine light here, it'll go all the way through this cable and then come out the top. Because the problem with drilling just the hole is that if you shine light up through the hole, the hole itself, the wood will absorb most of the light. So this makes sure that the light actually transmits to the very top, and you don't lose that light source. And then also that way too, I don't have to have a million different little LEDs.
Right.
At the surface of the wood, which
it can kind of be like further back.
Right, exactly. So I can have like a light source underneath that's much easier to create, and then know that it's going to transmit up to the surface of the wood, exactly where I want it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely one of the advantages of having ADHD and watching tons of science videos on YouTube that maybe 98% of is useless, but then just
There's that one little.
there's that one little part of having basic knowledge of fiber optics, and hey, maybe this will work. So
Yeah.
yeah. And that's actually how I ended up doing the fractal burning. I just stumbled across it on YouTube, like someone doing fractal burning on wood, and I was like,
Got really
I think I
interested
could
in it.
actually pull that off. So
Yeah.
that's I just went from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you mentioned earlier was, about making that decision to leave your work and take the risk and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I really think that, so a lot of times when you're trying to do two things at once,
Right.
it's like you're doing them, but you're probably doing them like both not that well.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like once you can actually like go into something and really focus on it, like you can get really good at it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Yeah. And then for me, like especially with the rotational shift, it's like when I was on night shift, I was just totally dead. Like I couldn't do anything. I could barely like go to bed and go to work. Like the 4 weeks I was on night shift, and then when I rotated back to days, the first week I was a zombie because I was readjusting to day shift. And it's like I had this like 3-week window of where I could actually do things. Like I could actually go out on the weekend or like go to the monkey's wrench, and then boom, like I'd be on night shift again. So like there's no way I could have started a business with that kind of cycle. So that's why.
yeah, I remember coming here
Yeah.
and seeing you, and you're like, yeah, I just need to do this couple things, and then I got to go to work now.
Yeah.
And you're just super worn out.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, I guess we're coming up on we got about 6 minutes left, but where can people find you and your work here?
Yeah, so the
Chris?
main place would be Instagram. So I have an Instagram page, hashtag Wells Lightning Wood. So you can see I post all the stuff that I do there, and
So this is your Instagram page right here.
Yep.
And so I got a bunch of the pictures of these are some of your pieces that you've done in the past. I guess it wants me to log in to the account. So let me see. Don't do that. I wonder if I could refresh.
There we go.
There we go. So these are some of the examples. This is something you're currently working on.
Yeah, and there you can see how well the fiber optics shine the light through the wood. So yeah.
So this is where people can kind of get an idea of what you've
Right.
built in the past.
Yeah, and like if anyone wants a custom piece, probably the best way would be to message me on Instagram.
On Instagram?
Or just send me a text message or email. So I believe you'll have those in your video as well.
Yeah, in the video description, guys, you'll be able to see all of Chris's links to his Instagram, and then he's got a hi hello card link that I've also posted in the that will be posted in the show notes and the show description. So you guys will be able to follow him there, and if you want to reach out to him, if you're interested in any of these cool pieces, that you can contact Chris there at Wells Lightning Wood there on Instagram.
Yep.
So thanks again, Chris,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
coming on to do this interview with me.
And just last bit of advice I'd want to give, like if anyone wanted to start their own business, like the number one thing I would say is find a mentor. Like find someone who's a successful, small business owner, and like meet with them once a week.
Okay.
In order to that's kind of what I've actually been doing with Chris Walls. We've met several times, and he's
He's kind of acting like your mentor.
Right, yeah. And that's just invaluable because the amount of information I'm able to get from him in like 30-minute meeting is like 5-6 hours of internet searches. And it also helps you too, like to hold you accountable to what you're doing, and like help you like really think through like, okay, how much risk am I willing to take? Should I like keep my day job for a little bit longer and then like at this date, start my own business or whatever? Like you have to figure out what your situation is, and having that mentor, I mean, just makes the world a difference. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I need to get one of those myself.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I try to pick up some stuff from podcasts because I'm just like listening. The job I do, I'm able to listen to podcasts in the background.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, that's why they're going going forward. This podcast will be the TinkerTribe podcast. It was the Meadows and Makers podcast, but now I'm putting everything under one name. I had like 3 different names.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
So from now on, it's going to be the TinkerTribe podcast. So.
Good stuff.
So everybody that's out there, if you like this interview, please put a comment down in the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Yeah. I'll have more interviews coming up, and some recorded ones that I'll be releasing on the channel. So thank you guys for I saw Nancy there in the chat. I appreciate you for coming by. But we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Yep.
Thanks again, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Adios. Yeah.
Peace.